Hey, what's up my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 21 signs that you are riding the leading edge of the collective consciousness. What does that even mean? That sounds like an odd thing to say, Vic. Well, what I mean by that is that the collective, the wholeness of humanity, the collective consciousness is getting bigger, it's expanding. But within that expansion, there are varying levels. Many people are more in the middle. They're not evolving as quickly or not evolving at all, but there are a lot of you actually, that are actually helping this, facilitating and participating in this expansion by pressing the envelope on that leading edge. However, as fun as that sounds, well, there are circumstances that result from pressing forcefully outside of the comfort zone of humanity, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. Some of the perhaps unusual symptoms that could be even labeled as negative, if not really seen in a proper perspective, that are actually indicative of something highly positive, which is you expanding and facilitating and helping human beings as a whole expand outside the limitations that they have placed upon themselves. Number one, seeing repetitive number patterns all the time. A lot of people see 1111 on the clocks so often that it would cause them to look up on the internet. Why am I seeing 1111? There's a lot of videos. I have a video all about this because so many people are just dumbfounded with just how often they see 1111. Not only on the clock, they see it on license plates, they see it on the radio when they're on like the duration of their song. It's in addresses, phone numbers, website addresses. It's all over the place. And you can see 1111 many times throughout the day, every day, as well as other synchronistic and maybe rare number patterns, like 111 or 1234 or 123 444 333 777 1212 1221. A lot of you guys are seeing those numbers, and you might have everyone sometimes concerned with what do the numbers mean, but oftentimes that's just very individual, and because it's the right numbers to get your attention. So if you're seeing numbers everywhere, synchronicity, then that is a very telltale sign that you are riding that leading edge. Number two is you feel fairly consistently in a state of intense uncertainty. Pressing out into the unknown abyss, that's a metaphor, but you actually are doing it in your own life, in your own consciousness. It's unsettling. You might find that it's been a while since your life was stable, solid, predictable. It's more like your mind is searching for the circumstance to finally piece together where you can exhale and say, okay, now this is who I am. This is where I'm at. This is how it is. And thank goodness, because I need a freaking vacation. It's just when you think you got it, that will fall away. This collective consciousness is expanding into a different state of being where it's not going to be so linear and myopic like the human brain tends to function. And consequently, you'll be more in the flow of the whole, of divine timing, and eventually what we're all doing now is developing trust in this new way of experiencing life. But you still presently, like many of us, might be finding yourself feeling quite shaken, quite uncertain on all levels. Mentally, emotionally, your concepts of life are constantly rebuilding and breaking down, and as well as your actual life situation with your job and relationships. Everything's kind of in flux right now, but that's okay. There is actually comfort within the chaos. We're just not quite used to it yet. Number three, you're probably experiencing at times, not always, but at times, trippy divine timing. Things unfolding in your life at such a precise perfection that it's like, oh my goodness, you could not have possibly planned for that, where things will come together in your life at the precise moment. You might be on the way to work and you were detoured, and then there was a car accident, and then you decided to take this other route and you got a flat tire, and then all these different things play out that seem random and like a big inconvenience, and yet the second you walk into work, you cross paths with your boss, and your boss says, hey, now that you're here, I was meaning to talk to you. I have a new job for you. Would you like a promotion? And that's that kind of thing, that kind of circumstance will just start happening more and more and more, because even though you might have that uncertainty, there's actually quite an order to what's happening, even though your linear mind can't possibly process it. And that is, you're becoming in alignment with the divine timing. That's one of the benefits of being on this leading edge and where we are going. Number 4, you're probably feeling an increase in your empathy, your sensitivity. You're feeling very sensitive, very empathic on all levels, but especially emotionally. You're probably so empathetic that you can feel, or empathic, that you can probably feel other people's mood, other people's emotions. You can tell, you can feel the intentions of other folks in your surrounding area. You can feel the vibe, the energy of a location. You could be driving through kind of a rundown area, and you can feel the heaviness, the pain sometimes. And then you emerge, and you're driving through like the Rocky Mountains, and you feel like the space and the spaciousness and the elevation. You feel great. But anyway, you're just becoming super freaking sensitive to all of that. And in the beginning, it can seem like a problem because there's a lot of darkness in the world, and you suddenly start picking up on that in a much deeper way. But eventually you learn discernment, and you learn to accept the darkness, and then that same sensitivity is applied also to the divinity and the light within all of existence, and you will be more sensitive and then experience that on a deeper level. But right now, straight up, you might be feeling like you have a ton of anxiety, but that's okay. Number 5 is you're probably on some level pondering at least your sense of purpose. How, like, those on the leading edge, a lot of them are experiencing a lot of breakdown in their life, a lot of changes, a lot of crumbling of the person they thought they were, and that leaves a void and a question: who am I? Why am I here? Where do I fit in? What is my role? What is my place? Many of you have found that, and it's one of the most satisfying things that can't even really be expressed into words, and some of you aren't. You might feel like it's just not clear and hasn't been clear for a while, yet that yearning is very present and kind of a guiding influence in your life. That's okay. You will get there. But nonetheless, the leading edge people are starting to become aware of the fact that they do fit in to the whole, to the grand scheme of things. And there is a proper placement, which doesn't have to necessarily mean I'm going to be such and such as a profession, or I'm going to do this. It's not a definition so much. It's just more of your life becoming in harmony with your true self, and that'll give you the feeling of having found your purpose. Number 6 is you're probably aware that things aren't at all like they seem. With politics, with the banks, the internet, celebrities, you're starting to see the man behind the curtain a little more clearly. The Illuminati, the corruption, the deception, the facade that most people buy into wholeheartedly and allow to influence their life in a very negative way. You're becoming aware of those influences, and most of you, I would imagine, are acting accordingly, doing your best to free yourself from it. Number 7, life, your situations are breaking down very quickly, and also usually rebuilding very quickly. There's a lot of movement, a lot of changing of jobs and relationships and housing situations and locations of where you live and vehicles and clothes, and all those, the physical structures in your life are very much like changing, and just you're shifting through different physical circumstances on all levels very, very quickly. You're just going quick. The leading edge lives life at a faster pace. They're experiencing their life reality experience in an accelerated way. And due to those interchanges you're allowing to transpire inside of you very quickly, it's reflected and manifested in your day-to-day existence on a very nuts and bolts, practical level. Number 8, you're probably going through some kind of, or many, diet fluctuations. You might find yourself feeling like grossed out by certain foods that maybe you've been eating your entire life, and the desire to like lighten up your diet, and it's just always changing. You might feel like, I cut this out, I've included this, and now I'm good. Now I found my diet, now I found my balance, and that changes too. Then you're like searching again. Those foods that were once so ideal are finally starting to break down, and you might just find it difficult to find your diet because you're always changing, your body's always changing, and then the ideal foods in your life are also shifting as well. Number 9, there's oftentimes a lot of kind of unusual symptoms that you might not talk about with your friends and family that people experience, like ringing in your ears, heart flutters, heart palpitations, little taps, you might feel little twitches in your body, little jolts of energy, just things that are, if it just happened in an isolated event, you ringing in your ears one day, it'd be one thing, but it just kind of, these symptoms are fairly, not persistent, fairly quite noticeable and tangible and frequent, and they kind of come in unpredictable cycles. Sometimes you might have a lot of them, and then it goes away. It's like, okay, I've passed that, and then they come back again. It's just, the leading edge is processing a lot of new energy and raising their frequency very quickly, and we're just experiencing some of the distortions and different symptoms of that transition. And what I just mentioned, among many others, is part of that. Number 10 is you might find yourself seeing orbs, balls of light, flashes of light, colors, auras around people. You're seeing non-physical light type energies that other people aren't talking about. And sometimes it's just a flash, but a flash indeed, something that's like, whoa. I oftentimes see really rich, bright blue light balls that just pop into my experience for just under a second, just enough to get my attention. When I look, I see it go away. And that happens to me at random intervals, but I'm not alone. I work with a lot of people who are going through this, and it's one of the many symptoms as well. So you're not going crazy. You might not have to get your eyes checked, although it might not be a bad idea if you suspect that's the case, but it's just common to start seeing those types of lights because you're expanding your consciousness and you're just becoming available to those sorts of lights and energies that were once invisible to you. Number 11, you might feel a distortion in your perception of time. Not in just one single consistent way, but it's just becoming distorted. Sometimes it can feel like one day is an eternity. It drags on and you experience so many lessons, so much waiting, so much in one day, like it was a whole lifetime in itself, and yet the months and years are just flying by. Sometimes it feels like your reality experience is speeding up and things are passing you by and commanding and asking for your attention at a rate that you just cannot keep up with. Other times you feel completely like life stops and you're stagnant and nothing's happening, nothing's budging, and you're waiting and bored and melancholy, and it's just time is a matter of your perception, and your perception is changing very drastically, and it will be experienced in the way you relate with the idea of time. Number 12 is you're probably going through an emotional catharsis, a purge of heavy, uncomfortable emotions, anxiety, fear. Make up a lot of it, really. Fear is kind of the root of most of the uncomfortable emotions that are coming up. You might feel that one day you feel extremely panicked and fearful, and the anxiety is so palpable and disorienting that you can't even get out of bed. And other times you feel super liberated from it. Like it's like not only is it gone, but you feel less anxious than you ever have in your entire life, and then more comes, and it's not anxiety, it's sadness. Most human beings have done a very good job at suppressing emotions that they don't want to feel in the moment, but you're going through a process that's requiring you to let those go, because just because you've obscured them from your conscious mind does not mean they're not actually there, part of you, weighing you down. And your vibration is raising and pushing to the surface all of those types of emotions, and you're going through straight up an emotional purge. Number 13 is you might feel the weird desire to simplify your life, to declutter. You might become really just off-put and bugged by the disorganization and unnecessary material items in your life. And you might just really feel like you have to clean that garage. You must organize your laptop or workspace at work. You must get rid of some of those shoes. You really got to go through that closet. These drawers are getting out of hand. You must tend to them. It's no longer like you can't put it off. It bugs you. You feel the disorganization actually is affecting your body, your life, and you just feel very strongly compelled to liberate yourself from a lot of the draining demands of your physical reality that you kind of unconsciously collected, that is now you got too much, and it's becoming a waste of your life, and you really just want to simplify it so you have more time just to be and experience and do what you want to do. Number 14 is you probably feel very alone in all this, very alone, very different, very against the grain, the oddball, the old soul, the person who just really doesn't fit in anywhere. What you're going through, you realize will sound crazy to people, so you keep it in. And you're lucky if you have even one person in your life that you can talk to about this, even on some level. Many are completely alone in this, because there's not a huge percentage of people right now riding that leading edge, unfortunately. 15 is you're probably going through high highs where you feel more connected and blissful and light and in harmony than ever before in your entire life, and then you feel the opposite. You feel heavy, riddled with the emotional purging emotions that are going on, doubtful, just very high, very low. Expansions and contractions at unpredictable intervals. There's no way, at least in my experience, to really know how it's going to be. You might be feeling like things are going better. I feel really good. Things are flowing. You never know how long that's going to end, because at some point you're likely to start running into the resistance again in yourself and your life, and go back in for an unforeseen amount of time. But nonetheless, you're feeling bipolar. You're feeling these expansions and contractions on all levels in your life. Number 16, you're probably having, at sometimes anyway, sleep disturbances, where you're either not sleeping for no reason that you can really pinpoint. You're just not sleeping, or you're sleeping a lot. You just cannot wake up at your desired time. You feel tired all day, and you're sleeping more than ever, and you're still not recuperating and keeping up with life. Many of you are waking up at the same creepy time every night. Oh my goodness, I've woken up at 3:33 for the last 6 nights in a row. What the hell's going on? Or 2:12 or 3 o'clock. You wake up at times, and just as you see those numbers on the clock, the 11:11 or whatever, wink at you, you look at your clock, and you're tired, and you just woke up, and it's like, oh no, what the hell is happening? You again? Out of all times, I woke up at the precise time again? Come on. Number 17 is you're becoming more psychic, more perceptive. It's easier for you to detect bullshit from other people or inauthenticity. A lot of you are feeling like you just know things sometimes. You can look at someone and know about them. Could be a stranger, and you know about them. You can sense they're sad, you can sense they're probably lonely in their life, maybe single, whatever. It's like not a series of thoughts that comes to you. You just instantly know about something. You just have your gut feelings, your intuition is just getting louder and more obvious, more hard to ignore. Even though sometimes your intuition, your psychic abilities will conflict with how you would maybe normally mentally assess the situation, But nonetheless, that intuition is getting so loud and bold in your life that you can't help but notice it and sometimes listen to it. And when you do, usually things go very well. Number 18 is you experience sometimes severe bouts of fatigue and lethargy at the result of many different situations. You might feel really drained after being with a certain group of people for a few hours, just going out with some maybe friends that you've known your whole life, and all of a sudden because you're so, all those things I mentioned, you're realizing like the heaviness of them and just how like maybe misaligned the relationship is, and they're just giving off these kind of demanding vibes they suck the energy out of you. And even though you were just sitting there at the bar for 2 hours, you had maybe 1 or 2 drinks, and you go home and you feel like you ran a freaking marathon, you're exhausted. You might have this experience when you go to work or into a busy place like a mall or like a convenience store. You might feel like this for no reason. You might feel really good one day, and then all of a sudden you wake up totally spent, exhausted, mentally spent, just burnt out for no reason that you can pinpoint. Again, it's due to all this energy you're processing. It's just, there's many reasons for this fatigue, and I talk about it in much more detail in other videos. Maybe I'll leave some links or something that can give you more insight into some of these individual symptoms, which some of them can be more of a problem than others, like fatigue, because I know a lot of you have demands in your life, and it's inconvenient to be randomly so exhausted from time to time. However, it's something that does pass, and you'll get used to it regardless. But it's also a positive sign that you're experiencing a lot of this energy that is associated with riding this leading edge. Number 19, you are noticing more of the darkness, the dark energy that underlies matter, whether it be people or institutions or situations. You're just becoming more aware of just how dark aspects some of the world and people are. You're just seeing it more clearly. You're seeing the darkness with more clarity, and you're feeling it on a physical level more deeply, in a more empathic way. And this can be a whole struggle on its own, because you feel like even though on some level you might be trying to find that purpose, sometimes you might even feel like, what's the point, man? This place is hopeless. It's okay. It's just an increasing awareness as you transition and become more and more aware of the darkness. It can take some time to accept it, basically. And through that acceptance is how you deal with it. You learn to accept the matter as it is, and realize it too is part of the whole that you are part of as well. Number 20 is you're also, thank goodness, just as you were more aware of the darkness, you're also more aware of the light. You experience and you feel more of the divinity within reality, within people, even dark people. You also, at the same time, simultaneously, sometimes you can also sense that there, underneath all that darkness, there's a beautiful, bright, loving soul that's just temporarily lost and in a lot of pain, and has just fallen victim to their own fear, and you're just seeing that being expressed. But you can also sense underneath that they are made of goodness, divinity. And this might be experienced not so much as assessing people's energy or whatever. It could be just you watch a movie you've seen maybe many times, and all of a sudden you're just seeing how brilliant it is and how beautiful, and just like the genius of it, and just how heartwarming it really is. You might find yourself getting choked up at situations, or just sometimes common deeds, little simple deeds that you see in public might just bring you to tears. There's this one thing I would see on Facebook a little while ago, when just this one random guy wasn't necessarily dressed all that well, and he walked by a homeless person without a shirt, and he just, without thinking, took his shirt off. I'm feeling slightly choked up as I talk about that right now myself, just thinking about it. And he takes his shirt off and just gives it to the guy. Didn't wait for a praise, didn't look around, he just gave it to him and walked off. Little stuff like that will warm your heart. And it's so, even though it might seem at times like that happens less in the dark things you're seeing, it's so powerful. Those expression of divinity, that's when you're reminded that there is a reason to hold strong and be faithful. Number 21, you are aware of the coming shift. We're going through a shift, we're going through a transition, but we're building to something. We're building to what people call critical mass, building to an event. a moment in time where the fruits of your labor are finally reaped and expressed and experienced. And that's all I think anyone can really say about it. How will that be? I don't know. I don't claim to know. Some people say they know. I have my doubts. I feel like it's something we just sense. A sense of momentum, a sense of accumulation, a sense we're building to something but don't know what yet. Feel deeply on a knowingness level that is incredibly positive, and mind-blowingly positive and grand and miraculous. And you're part of it. You're facilitating, you're participating in that. You're riding the leading edge into God knows where, but it seems to be heading somewhere very awesome. So thank you for your participation. If you've concluded this video, then I imagine you're one of the forerunners, one of the people riding this leading edge. It doesn't make you better than anybody, but it's also at the same time shouldn't go unnoticed your bravery and your courage and just how challenging it really is to walk this lonely path that you are. That is all. Hopefully this video has helped perhaps shift your perspective on some of these inconveniences that are germane to this path and fill you with a little bit of hope and help you maybe just take that one next step and then we'll see what happens. Have an amazing day, my friends. Thank you for watching. I love you all. Namaste.